Here, I don't like that at all. All right, it says it's going live. I believe it. All right, our webinar is now streaming on Facebook. It says, hello, everyone. I am going to pull up my comments on my phone so we can all follow along with what you're joining us in. We have a really fun topic today. Did you get the notes on the topic, Joe, or is it a surprise for you what we're going to talk about?
No, I got them about 2 minutes ago.
Okay. So there's that 2 minutes ago. You can talk about this topic. I know we've talked about this topic before.
Yeah, no, it's not an unfamiliar topic.
No, it is not. All right, well, let me get my notes up. What are you drinking today, sir?
Just regular coffee.
Okay, all right. Any cream or sugar in it?
A very little bit of cream. It's some kind of organic blend that my wife bought. So it's pretty good.
I do not like the way that this is flipping back and forth between you and I. So I'm going to change this to be, it says it's in gallery view, but look how we're coming across on the screen. It's me and then you and then me and then you and then me and then you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that at all. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can update you. Maybe.
No. You want me to try to change my view?
Yeah, no. Oh, we're good. Look, there we are. We're two people now. I like that. Thanks for putting up with me, guys, while we figured that out. Good morning, Danielle. How are you? Jean, Lynette, Jamie, all of our favorite peeps are on first. You guys, you are in it to win it. Okay. I think it's going to... I'm in a different setup today, guys. Joe knows this, and if you're looking in the background, you're like, oh, yeah, this is not the typical Tiffany background. It's true. I'm changing my home office. There we go. Now it's in gallery view. All right. Richard Russell has joined the party. Sally, good morning, everyone. Okay. So, yeah, I'm in a new space in my house. This is the emergency Zoom Facebook Live space of my house. I don't prefer it. And we talk about your setup every week, but mine, I don't like windows being in the background because then it makes the light forward really odd. And so I had to go steal my nightstand lamp. There's all sorts of things.
I know. I like where I sit, but I think that there's better. I mean, I got to get it to be a little bit better too.
Yeah.
So, surrounded by a lot of natural light, which isn't probably great for video, but oh well.
Oh well, you guys can hear us. That's the important thing. You can hear what we're saying. You can join in the conversation. You can ask questions and we can follow along. But it just took a hot second to set it up and make sure that we were all ready to go. So I have also black coffee and I have my North Carolina mug. Actually, I got this for my very first trip to Charlotte, which I know is a city near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, a little bit. It's been a while since I've been there, but I lived there for a couple of years.
Yes, you did.
That was fun.
It is fun. I agree. All right. Well, welcome to the Backup Brokers Live, coffee and conversations about your real estate business from the broker's perspective. I'm Tiffany. You're Joe.
I am.
You are Joe. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing well. How are you?
Good. I have had a long week. I think you've had a long week as well. We're here though.
I've had a long month.
You guys, it has been crazy.
So a good month, but a long month.
It's been a long month. I agree. So here we are. We're in the middle of February. We just did Valentine's Day. Woot woot. So we're officially in the middle of February. I'm wondering how people's goals are going. That's not what we're talking about today, but I'm wondering because this is the time where New Year's resolutions and real estate goals and bigger picture things like visioning gets questioned. And so I think if I can encourage you guys please reevaluate, go look at your business plans. Now is the time where you should be measuring your effectiveness of what you have been doing for the last month and a half and adjust where you need to adjust. If you're the bottleneck for your success, just adjust it. Adjust your behaviors.
Yeah, it's a really good thought. I mean, this is the time of the year where the gym isn't nearly as busy as it was a month ago. Yeah. Then the same thing happens in our business. We start to fall back into familiar patterns if we're not careful and if we don't evaluate.
Yep, that's exactly it. So if you feel that way, it is totally okay to restart. You do not need a 1-1 date to do it. That's an arbitrary date. Just decide in your heart, decide in your mind, and go forward.
Yep, agree totally.
That's what I got to say. Okay, so today we're talking about being a better team leader. I have coached and observed and trained and learned and coached out of several team leaders. And I think there's a few things that are worth noting. I know you've done the same with your agents. You've seen a lot. And so I think this is a good topic. I think it's a timely topic because a lot of people have started teams at the beginning of the year and might be reevaluating that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just jump in. Why do people become team leaders?
I think there's a lot of reasons why people become team leaders, but there's not always a lot of good reasons why people become team leaders. People become team leaders they want to, I think they have, some people just become team leaders for the same wrong reasons that some people get married. It's just, they think it's the next natural step.
Yep.
And it's not always the case. Being a team leader is a completely different job. I mean, many of you have probably worked in industry or situations where the top selling salesperson became the manager and they weren't an effective manager.
Yes.
So just because you're a top selling salesperson doesn't mean that you are destined or you need to become a team leader. So it's not the next step just because for sake of taking the next step. Now, why should you become a team leader? Well, becoming a team leader is really, in my opinion, one of the first steps or one of the biggest steps in making your real estate career a business. You
Right.
can make it a business because you can make it not completely centric about you. You can bring on other people to help with tasks, make your business easier, but more importantly, grow your business. And if you do it right, you absolutely can grow your business by 2, 3, 4, 5 times. But there's a lot of pitfalls when it comes into this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you were exactly right on the first thing. They think it's the next natural step, and it's typically because they are so busy with their own personal business that they think that they have to expand in order to grow to that next step.
Mm-hmm.
Where we talked about, it was either the last week or the week before, where you can first eliminate things that are really just busy work, automate that. And then we talked about this when we were talking about hiring an admin.
Yep.
And then delegating out. Maybe you have somebody that works for you in an administrative role for a couple of hours a week. Maybe they're at the brokerage level, and then hiring out that work. That's a good way to move into this like support role and then expand your services because you take some of those non-income producing tasks out.
Right.
But then people think, well, I'm growing empires, and so I need more buyer's agents, showing agents, maybe a listing agent to help me get to that point. So that's maybe a reason they become a team leader. Prestige. I think people won't say it out loud, but I really do think it's a prestige thing for them to go to the next level, which is being a team leader, being a sales manager, whether or not they're a right fit for that.
Well, and that persona, that prestige, it is pushed out there by the industry. I mean, the largest real estate brokerage in the country, in the world, that is their philosophy, right? Bring somebody in, put them on a team, and then let's build team leaders. Let's make people into the next, team leader. And that works for a portion of real estate agents, but it's not right for everyone. The very first step in becoming a team leader is knowing exactly what you're doing and knowing exactly what you should not be doing.
Yeah.
Figuring out what your focuses are. But before you bring on an administrator, or maybe you hire a contract, a closing service, you still need to know the product well enough to know what you're giving away. And you really have to have that written down, and you have to have a structure and a plan to be able to give that away. Because if you just bring somebody in and say, well, this is what I do, just go ahead and run with this, clean this up for me, that does not work well.
Yeah, you've jumped really nicely into our next topic. But before we go into common missteps of team leaders, I want to just mention one more reason why people become team leaders. In my opinion, what I've seen is that they feel called to a higher and bigger purpose to serve more people. And in order to do that, they've created these systems, they've created a way to do it, and then they want to serve more people in their region, in their industry. Maybe they do an expansion team to serve another market where they used to live. And so I think some people feel called to be team leaders, and that's perfectly okay too.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I feel like I was a little bit against it. I'm actually not against becoming a team leader or building a team. In fact, I think it can be a very smart business model. I just think there's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of wrong reasons for doing it, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What are some common pitfalls that people have to team leadership?
They make it them centric. They instead of serving the team members, and they make it about them. They don't have a system. And we talked about that a little bit. That is the biggest pitfall, is not having a system. I know a lot of successful, busy productive, very unorganized agents. And that before you can give something away, you got to be able to organize it a little bit. You cannot just hand the mess over and say, hey, go create this system for me. You have to be involved in it. You have to streamline your process.
I agree. You cannot have 900 realtor.com leads sitting in your inbox and expect to hire somebody without a system and without a training program, without a accountability system afterwards to follow up with it, just because you have 900 realtor.com leads. Like, yes, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars in your inbox by not following up with them, but hiring somebody before you have the system in place is not the way to fix your problem. What you're actually doing is creating a nightmare for two people rather than just leaving money on the table, which sucks too.
Yeah. I mean, you have to expect that when you bring anybody on, anytime you expand, anytime you bring somebody on to help with your business, you should expect that you're going to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward. I struggled with this early on too. And I would try to train people in administrative tasks. And it'd take me an hour to show somebody how to do something that I could do in 10 minutes. And I'm like, that's silly. What I originally didn't realize is that, it's going to take me an hour to train them. It would take me 10 minutes, but I'm going to give that task away forever.
Yep.
Okay, that task is gone off the table forever. So you can do the math. It doesn't take long to make that up if you do the training right.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like fishing versus teaching someone to fish, right? Giving them a fish versus teaching them to fish. And it's the same for your business. Well, you could have the fish, you could have it done in 10 minutes, or you could train somebody else to do it. And then forever and ever and ever, you have that 10 minutes back every single day. That's 10 minutes to do anything else, any other income producing activity first.
Or spend time with your family or whatever it is. I mean, I want to be clear too, that if building a team doesn't always have to be about more income. I think it gives you an opportunity to scale and expand, but it also could give you some of that time back to do other non-business related things or other hobby things or better family time, whatever it is. That is all important.
Yeah, one of my favorite books on this topic actually is not a book on this topic. It's The 4-Hour Workweek. Really, really great book. And what he did was he delegated and automated and eliminated and systemized as much as he possibly could so that he could experience life outside of his business. And I think that's totally fine too. Like if you have a higher and better calling to also be with your family when you're with your family, which you should, then delegate some of that stuff out. But it means giving up some of the control. It means that you are not the bottleneck to everyone else's productivity. Like you can't have all the realtor.com leads sitting in your inbox and then not give people access to your inbox to do something with it.
Yeah. You have to be comfortable as a team leader that you're going to bring people on and they're going to do it 80 to 85% the way that you would do it.
Yep.
To expect somebody to come on board and do exactly what you are going to do it in the exact way that you're going to do it is silly. It's insane. It's not a realistic expectation. Here's the thing that we have to understand. Why do people use us to buy and sell homes, build relationships? It's actually not the person. It's not Tiffany. It's the experience that she creates.
Yeah.
And so if you're creating that experience and you bring people in, they can accentuate that experience if you do it right, if you put them into the system, if you empower them, if you edify them. These team members can give your clients a better experience, especially if you're hiring with complementary skill sets.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. One of our team leaders, a really, really effective team leader at our branch, does a DISC assessment prior to hiring anyone, just to make sure they're in the right space. And I've heard that several times from several different team leaders that they have systematic hiring processes, they have job descriptions, they have workflows of exactly what to do once you get in that position. And then also they have all sorts of tests to make sure that you're in the right space. Like you don't want somebody who's a driver to be in an administrative position.
No.
That would be so ineffective. And you don't want somebody that's a support person to be in a sales position.
Yep.
They're not going to be effective there. You're not setting everybody up for success, and you're definitely not putting the right people where they should be. And I think that's another pitfall that team leaders have is they hire the wrong people because it is an emotional decision, especially if you're hiring friends and family members. And we can go all about that. But not hiring the right person for the right position, I think, is a really huge issue.
Yeah. And team leaders, I think, if I asked every single team leader or manager or broker, when you hire somebody, do you think they'll work for you forever? Everybody would answer no. But yet when we bring them on board, we run our business and our practice as if those people are never going to leave, when we know that's an unrealistic expectation. Yeah. So my point about this is have a system. When you're developing this system, when you're having this person come on board and refine it and retune it, write a standard operating procedure, have a roadmap for when that person leaves down the road that somebody else can step in and it's almost seamless.
Yep, I completely agree. Okay, I have some additional notes on common pitfalls. Growing for the wrong reasons, I think, goes back to growing a team because you think it's the next step, because you're doing it for prestige, because you are the top producing salesperson and you need help. I think that's a wrong reason to grow a team. And I think that that's a common misstep that people have. And then they end up failing out of it. And it's even a bigger mess than when they started it. So that not seeking training, typically, I would hope, especially the companies that promote team building, have training programs. Rely on whatever your brokerage's training is first, because that's going to be foundational level training. Mm-hmm. And then they need to train their staffers in the specifics of the team procedures. But rely on what the brokerage provides too, to train in those foundational items, because it'll free the team leaders up.
That's a wonderful point. I mean, you as a team leader should not have to train your new agents what a mortgage is. All right. Yeah. That is not your job. And if your brokerage doesn't provide that, you may not be getting the value package that you deserve, because that is in my opinion, that should be a baseline brokerage level function to train agents on the basics of real estate.
Yep. I completely agree. Not recording compensation plans. This one is more common than I realized. I did not realize how many people go on a handshake and a verbal agreement, and then there's all sorts of unmet expectations at closing time.
Yeah, that's a huge one. And along with those agreements, written compensation plans, if there's any brokers or broker owners or managers on here, as owners or brokers or managers, you need to make sure that these agreements are in place, because I can tell you from experience, one of the most challenging aspects to deal with as a broker is inter-team disputes. Mm-hmm. And if you have the paperwork, it's simple. You can go back to the paperwork. But if you don't, it becomes really messy and you're at loss for losing agents. So make sure that the paperwork is there, and make sure that you have a relationship with all team members. And going back a couple minutes ago, you can drive that through your training and education program. Yep, I completely agree, because as a broker, I don't typically see the inner workings of a team. And mm-hmm. So then a team member comes to me and they're like, well, I'm leaving the brokerage because you guys didn't support me. And I'm like, what? Huh? And so you're completely you had no idea. Yeah. And that's on us. I mean, that's on the broker managers. That's our job. Exactly. That was absolutely my fault. And I have learned from that and I've grown from that. And so if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm hiring this team member, great. I also now need to meet with them. You can't. Absolutely. Yeah. You're not just bringing somebody on board without the brokerage also interviewing them, period. Yep. So now that's part of my process. Like, great, I'm glad you're hiring somebody. They also have to interview with me if they're a licensed individual. Because in the end, the responsibilities on, I'm sorry. Yeah. In the end, it's our responsibility. License law violations are not going back to the team leader. They're coming back to the brokerage. Exactly. You're exactly right. Okay. One more thing, not communicating values. I think brokerages first have to communicate their values, but also the team. What is the team striving for? What is the team's value? What is the team's level of service to those individuals? And so they need to drive that value package and those values down. Mm-hmm. Yep. 100% agree. All right, I'm going to go get some more coffee really quickly, because I'm already out and my coffee pot is right there. So I'm going to go do that. You can talk to them for a moment. All right. All right. So let's talk about, we've talked about some challenges. We've talked about some pitfalls. Let's talk about some things that we've seen from successful team leaders. Standard of service. When we talk about standard of service, we mean, do you have a written program? Do you have a structure? Do you have a plan to plug these people in? I talk to a lot of people about buying rental properties. One of the things we talk about is when you buy your first rental property, you should assume that you're going to buy 20, and you should build the structures and the procedures in that same manner. Same thing with building a team. You should assume that this is going to work well and that you're going to have multiple team members. And also, if you have a standard of service, being able to, if somebody leaves, you should be able to fill them back in. So a couple of things, team members are going to leave. And if you're doing your job right, it's because they have left because you've helped make them so successful that it makes sense for them to be on their own. And I want everybody to understand that that's okay. If they leave after 3 months because they're mad and something didn't go right, you guys weren't on the same page, or you're not offering the right package to that person, or they're the wrong hire. There's a lot of reasons, but be okay with somebody graduating out of a team member position. It's okay. It's a natural evolution for a lot of people.
Yep. I want to go back to a comment. Aaron Singerman asked, admins before team members? Question mark, like 5 question marks. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Admins before team members. Really, if your brokerage, or if you have a contract closing service, I would even do that before admin, because then you as a realtor are not bringing on the overhead. You're just paying as needed service. So I would say contract closing service offered by the brokerage, admin when you get to a certain point, preferred buyer's agents, not even a team member, not even a locked in buyer's agent, a preferred kind of trial buyer's agent where, hey, I've got some extra leads. I'm going to give them to you. We're going to do a referral, but there's no buyer agency type relationship, and then graduate into that buyer agent.
Yep. I agree. All right, let's talk about expectations. Really, really successful team leaders have expectations. They talk about them up front. They talk about what is going to be expected absolutely for that level of service, but for job performance, when they're going to be checking in with them, what the accountability looks like. Everybody knows what's expected because it's talked about up front. Tension and weirdness and people leaving angrily come from unmet expectations.
Yep.
And so you need to have a really healthy conversation about expectations, even if it is with your friends, even if you are hiring family members, especially if you're hiring family members. Right?
I would encourage you, one thing, that when we bring agents onto our company, we have a letter of intent that we go over with all of our agents. So we try to frontline those expectations. I would encourage you as a team leader to do the exact same thing with your team members that you're bringing on.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, next, replicatable, delegatable systems. It goes back to exactly what you said, Joe. You have to take a couple of steps back in order to move forward. You need to plan time that you're going to sit down and train with these folks. You're going to sit down and go over exactly what they're going to do, and then have a plan for them to be able to transition that to another person if they leave.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep. Team agreements, we already talked about. This is a big one. Expected source and persons responsible for generating leads. You need to know where leads are coming from and how they're going to be handled.
I agree. And this kind of ties in with compensation as well. We as brokers, at least I don't, and I don't think most people mandate what a team structure looks like as far as compensation. But again, you need to have that upfront expectation, what it looks like, where the leads are coming from. You also have to have the conversation of what happens when a team member, a buyer's agent, lists their dad's house.
Yeah.
How is that compensated? I've seen them where that team member only gets 25% of that.
10% is the lowest I've heard.
10%?
10%, you guys.
Yeah. I would not do that.
No.
If you want to keep team members, I would not do that.
Yep.
I think there's better structures. When you're building a team, you want these people to have reasons to stay, not reasons to leave. That's a big reason to leave. And think about it. The majority of new agents, especially, but most agents, their business is coming from sphere of influence, family members, good friends. If you get, as a team leader, if you have a buyer's agent that brings you 6 listings that are all friends and family, and they're only going to get 10 or 20%, they're leaving at some point. They're going to be bitter no matter what.
That is almost always the conversation I have with a buyer's agent that I interview with that's looking to become an individual agent. Is I brought them my mom. They wouldn't let me list the property, and I get 10% for the referral. Almost always that's the conversation. And it's like, yeah, that's a problem. I understand why you would be upset. And if you are providing so much value in other places, then have that conversation about expectations, right? We talked about what's the tension. It's unmet expectations. They brought their mom to the team as a referral. They couldn't list it, and they got less than you would get for a referral from somebody on the other side of the state. right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I just think that, I think that's crazy.
Yep. Team agreements, make sure you have team agreements in place. It is so necessary. Before you hire someone, you should have your agreements written out, and you should negotiate compensation or have an expectation of compensation in writing. It should not be a year and a half down the road and you're asking your broker where to find team agreements at.
Correct.
It's not good for anyone. And hiring the right people and having them in the right place. I really think that you should have a set of criteria for your job description that you're evaluating hires against.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Okay, Joe, let's talk about what team members need once they're on your team. What are the needs of team members? Very first one, support. They need a mentorship. They came to your team because you had a source of leads, you had support, you had expertise in this business, so that they had a structure of what to do. They know what to expect from you and they know who to go to.
Yeah, I think that's really important to clear that up front, because support and mentorship looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I mean, you could have an agent come on board and they just want to follow you around like a puppy dog for the first 6 months and do everything. I will tell you that's not particularly healthy. So you need to have that expectation of what that looks like, bottom line it, and make sure that it's a fit. One thing that we should be clear about. It's so much better to say no to a team member up front. Better for everybody, but better. It's so much easier than unwinding it down the road. So be okay doing that.
Yep, I completely agree. Accountability. They are most likely coming from a corporate world where they have been told what to do and how much to produce and when to check in. And they are looking for some sort of that level, not necessarily all that level, because people get into real estate for the flexibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
But known understanding of who they're accountable to and what they need to produce. And they also want you to celebrate their milestones along with this in the accountability part. Mm-hmm. Did they reach their cap? Are they a year in the business and that's their anniversary? They want this sense of community and accountability. I guess it's twofold. But
some of the best teams that I've seen do a really good job of driving accountability, but also, like you said, that sense of community, being a little, surrogate family almost, and having that camaraderie. They do a really, really good job with it. And, we do need accountability. We need accountability more in this role than we do if you come from the corporate world. And a lot of people some people can be self-accountable, but the majority of people cannot. So we do need it. We just don't always need it. And somebody over the top of us saying, if you don't do these reports for me, you're going to get fired, right? That's not effective. That's why people get out of the corporate world. But if we both were in the corporate world at one time, it's actually easier. It's easier to be be in the middle of the road and get a paycheck and get bailed out every 2 weeks than it is to work in the fashion that we do. But it's also a lot more rewarding. So with those rewards comes a lot more accountability.
Yep, you're absolutely right. One super quick note on this. Being in that team leader position and being accountable does not mean you micromanage them. It does not mean you crush their dreams with really overbearing, like drill instructor, accountability. That's not inspiring. And that really does lead me to my next point, motivation. They need someone to look to as a leader. They need motivation and inspiration because not everybody is intrinsically motivated to achieve their goals. Sometimes people are motivated by team success. Sometimes they're motivated by external things, but they need some inspiration and motivation.
Yep, I 100% agree. The other one that we skipped over a little bit, tech training.
Yep.
I believe that all of them need to get together with you. But I don't think a lot of people get into a team, even if they have a couple people and they're like, I need an office. I got to go spend money. I need the office. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Some of the largest teams and most successful teams that I work with and that I'm aware of, they don't have an office. They get together at public places. They get together at homes. You don't need to, you may find you want to do that, and that's okay, but don't think that that's part of the evolutionary step of starting a team is I got to have brick and mortar. It's not. Yeah. You can create all of this community without it. You can also do training, back to the tech, with a call like this, with Zoom calls, with webinars, with FaceTime, those kind of things.
Yeah, they're also going to be looking to you to make sure you know what's happening in the technological sphere of real estate, right? What's innovative in marketing? What's new? Are you using Facebook and Google ads to drive traffic? Because in addition to knowing where they're going to get their leads, and we can talk about that in a second, you have to have a place to generate them from. And so you need to know a little bit more about technology than maybe the average agent does. And so spending some time and money and training on what's happening in tech is important to team members.
Team leader should be the learner of that team. You
I
should,
agree.
like you said, spend a little bit of money, maybe have a coach, go to some conferences, get involved in what's happening, what's new in the real estate world, so that you can be a more effective team leader.
I absolutely think team leaders should have coaches, because you're a coach for your people. I think you need somebody to turn to help you grow and become your best self.
Yep, 100% agree.
Yep. All right, let's talk about stability and security. That is, I think, the number one reason why people join teams is they're looking for stability and security in their income, even though they've taken a risk to be in a commission-only position.
Yeah. I think they're hedging their bet completely. A lot of them are. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of buyer's agents that make a really good living and they don't have to worry about lead gen.
Yeah.
So it can be a really good fit for that. But as a team leader, yeah, your team members are looking for that.
Yep. So you need to have a plan of how you're going to provide security and stability to them. Is it in the leads? Is it in the team meetings? Is it in the community of the office? But you cannot make this business entirely out of you and you dependent, and then you abandon your people. You cannot do it.
Yep. Great point.
All right. Final thoughts on this episode?
Do it, but be cautious with it. Be smart about building a team. Don't just build a team because you're really busy. Really, really look down at your business and say, am I busy just because I'm busy, or am I busy because I'm profitable and I can be more profitable, or I can get more time? So just really dive into what you're doing and make some strategic decisions, and be okay saying, you know what, that's not for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to go back to your point that you said about being a learner. If you are thinking about becoming a team leader, or if you're thinking about just even starting a team in the next 6 months, I think that you should be such a learner about this topic. Dedicate 3 to 5 hours a week learning about team systems, learning about team success, how to structure team agreements and compensation. Meet with your brokerage, whoever your team leader is, your broker. I know Keller Williams calls them team leaders, the support people. Whoever's in a leadership position at your brokerage, meet with them and talk about the strategy, talk about things that are going successfully. Take other team leaders in that brokerage out for coffee and talk to them about that. Soak in as much as you possibly can, because the more people that you have as mentors in this capacity, the more successful you will be. Yep.
Great point.
Yep. Okay. Let me see if we've got any quick questions. Just Jennifer asking if Sally is here, Aaron asking about that. I don't see any other questions. If you guys have specific questions about team leadership, pitfalls, mistakes, successes, questions, specific questions, tag Joe or I below. We are happy to answer those. I'm happy to answer those, I was going to say, but I know you are as well.
Yeah, of course. We can also hook you up with some really successful team leaders. And absolutely, every successful team leader that I know of has also taken their bruises and lumps. So, we can put you in contact with some really strong leaders.
Yep, we absolutely can. All right, you guys. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really loved it. I love this. Do you love this?
It's fun. Yeah, I do. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to it, actually.
I do too. All right. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. We will talk soon.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.